Hello guys, welcome to United's Glory. Ryan Giggs has stated that Manchester United should not just sign only one of Jack Grealish or Jadon Sancho, but we should sign both. Obviously, we've been heavily linked with both of these players in this summer transfer market. And whilst Jadon Sancho looks like it's on, Jack Grealish, despite looking very on just a month ago, is starting to look a bit off, I guess you could say. That's because of Aston Villa's survival in the Premier League. Now that they've survived relegation, thanks in large parts to Jack Grealish himself, the price tag for Jack Grealish has gone up. However, I do agree with Ryan Giggs' sentiment that, if you want to challenge, especially where Manchester United need to be at, challenging for that title, you need to go out and get both players that would ultimately vastly improve the quality of the squad. Now, Jadon Sancho is getting straight in on that right-hand side. Mason Greenwood's been brilliant, especially since Project Restart, but ultimately, he is not a natural right winger. We eventually want him challenging Anthony Martial for that striking position. And of course, he can still fill in on the right and even the left when there's injuries or players need to be rested, but he is only 18 and he needs to be bedded in properly and not played every game and burnt out early at a young age. We only have to hark back to Wayne Rooney to know what that kind of treatment does to a young player for the long term of their careers. Now, I know what you're saying. Jadon Sancho is only 19 himself, but he is an established top-level footballer. He's played at a top club in Dortmund for the past 2 years, and he's played consistently. And, we shouldn't play him every game either. I know he's going to come with a hefty price tag, but we've got options now, and that's the important thing. Jack Grealish, however, probably won't walk straight into the team. He can play a variety of positions, but he would ultimately vastly increase the squad depth that we have. The drop-off when we take the likes of Bruno or Pogba or even Rashford, Martial and Greenwood off is enormous. Grealish can play midfield, attacking midfield, so when we need to rest Bruno or Pogba, he can take up those positions without too much of a drop-off. And he can also play in the wide positions, particularly on the left. If Rashford gets injured or needs a rest, he can play there. There's going to be plenty of games for somebody like him next year, considering we're going to be challenging for 4 different championships. Possibly 5 if we win the Europa League. We have a very pacey front line, but Jack Grealish would definitely offer something in that front line that's different to the rest of those players. He can really deliver a ball, and he is a leader, and we desperately need a leader up front. But obviously, whilst I agree with Giggs' sentiment that you should sign both of these players, and that's exactly what our club of Manchester United should be doing, there is something that we must be aware of, and of course that is the increase in Jack Grealish's price. 80 million, he simply is not worth that much. There's very few players, especially in the modern market, that are simply due to the coronavirus lockdown and the implications of that lockdown. Jack Grealish would also simply be coming in to bolster the squad, and of course he can work his way into that first team, but Jadon Sancho is a player that is being brought in straight for the first team and being implemented in that right forward position, which is a problem position for us right now, and is probably the most significant problem position we've had all season. Daniel James has tried to play that role to very little effect, and obviously Mason Greenwood's come in, but it's clearly a striker playing right forward, but he gets away with it because he's simply so talented. A natural right winger like Jadon Sancho would simply be perfect and give some balance to our team, and especially some width. He is good on the counter-attack, and he can play in close spaces. When teams drop deep and defend in banks of 4, he can break it down with a bit of trickery and a quick burst of pace. He has excellent acceleration, and he can really, really pick out a pass. He is inventive with his final ball, and he always makes the right choices. He is simply sensational, especially for his age. 17 assists, 17 goals for a 19-year-old in the Bundesliga is an exceptional feat. Now, it really depends on how much we get Jadon Sancho for, but we ultimately must get Jadon Sancho. Obviously, Ed Woodward needs to work his magic off, get him for as cheap as possible, and hopefully leave enough of a budget to get somebody else and bring somebody else in. But that's the problem with Jack Grealish. 80 million, like I said, he is not worth 80 million. Closer to 40 to 50 million, to be brutally honest. Good player. I would really like him in the United squad. It would definitely offer something different, like I've mentioned. But that price that Villa are now demanding is simply a red flag, and there are simply options out there who we can get for far cheaper. Van der Beek being one of the most prominent alternatives to Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish really needs to push for a move and hopefully win the sentiment of the Aston Villa board. But, getting these both would definitely mark an improvement in our squad, and I believe we can make a title challenge with these two. 33 points on Liverpool is an enormous gap between us and our rivals. But ultimately, I can see a Liverpool drop-off, and getting these two players in would make us exquisite up front with plenty of options and prepared for any injuries or tiredness in the season to come. Obviously, there's a few other problem positions, defensive midfield and possibly a centre-back, but right now they aren't the most prominent problem positions. Right wing certainly is. Attacking midfielder most likely is, and given Jack Grealish's versatility as well, it makes him a good choice. But once again, it all depends on what our budget is, and getting Jadon Sancho is simply key before even thinking about getting Jack Grealish. Depending on that price, depending on who we can sell, what budget we can increase it to through sales, then Jack Grealish might be the next good choice. But then we may need a centre-back and a defensive midfielder as well. It's definitely going to be interesting, but I do agree with Giggs' sentiment. If you want to challenge for the title, you've got to get the players in that you need. You have to be aggressive in the transfer market. If we can get these two players in for about 150 million for both, given the sales we'll make, we've had a good summer because we've got a lot of deadwood to get rid of, and that can make up the net sales. Given the age of both Jack Grealish and Jadon Sancho, that could potentially be our forward line sorted for the next few years. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think down in the comment section. Make your opinions heard. Do you believe these two could transform into title challengers? Not necessarily winning the title, just challenging for that title and closing that 33-point gap significantly. I'm looking forward to your comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you love talking about Manchester United, then you will love this channel. Make sure you subscribe with all notifications clicked on. Keep smashing that like button. Thanks, guys. Chat soon.